Daehyun sat across from Kyungmin in the research station's control room. The broadcast equipment hummed quietly, ready to send its terrible message across the galaxy. 40 hours remained. Let me show you something, Kyungmin said. He activated a holographic display. This is the complete Vernathi archive. Everything that happened, watch it. Then tell me I'm wrong. The footage began. It showed Vernathi ships attacking human colonies. Humans being loaded onto transport ships like cargo. Children separated from parents. Families torn apart. The images were old but clear. The horror was unmistakable. Then came the experiments. Vernathi scientists testing human endurance, studying human pain responses, breeding programs designed to create better slaves. Hundreds of thousands of humans died in those experiments. This went on for 100 years, Kyungmin said. 100 years of humanity begging for mercy, begging for peace. The Vernathi laughed at us. They thought we were weak. The footage changed. Now it showed human military operations, the cleaner fleets as they were called. Ship after ship systematically destroying Vernathi worlds. The weapons they used were horrifying. Atmosphere burners that turned entire planets into ovens. Bioweapons designed specifically to target Vernathi biology. Kinetic bombardments that cracked tectonic plates. But worse than the weapons was the efficiency. The humans didn't show anger. They didn't show rage. They just methodically erased every Vernathi population center. Cities, towns, villages, everything. Minji watched with tears running down her face. Hunyo looked away. Even Daehyun, who had seen the displays at the Remembrance Vault, felt sick. The Vernathi Empress sent a final message, Kyungmin said. Listen to it. The hologram showed an alien in ornate robes, clearly terrified. We enslaved them because they were weak. We were wrong. They are not weak. They are patient. They are thorough. They are absolute. We thought their mercy was weakness. But mercy was a choice they made. When they stopped choosing mercy, nothing could stop them. Tomorrow we will be extinct, and the galaxy will never know we existed. That is the price of angering humanity. The message ended. Silence filled the room. That's not all, Kyungmin continued. He showed more footage. After the Vernathi were gone, human fleets hunted survivors for 200 years. No refugee was spared. No hidden colony was safe. Even Vernathi who had opposed the war were eliminated. And then came the historical erasure. The display showed human infiltrators accessing galactic databases, deleting files, altering records, destroying monuments. It was systematic, complete, absolute, just like the military campaign had been. This is humanity at its best, Kyungmin said. Focused, determined, unstoppable. And I'm going to show the galaxy what we're capable of. Before Daehyun could respond, alarms blared. General Yuna's face appeared on a screen. She looked even more tired than before. Captain Kim, I'm tracking Kyungmin's broadcast equipment. I need you to destroy it immediately. General, we're trying to negotiate. There is no negotiation. Yuna's voice was sharp. The Remembrance Vault's AI systems have been monitoring galactic communications. If Kyungmin broadcasts that information, the AI will interpret it as a security breach. The automated protocols will activate. Total War Protocol will engage against any species that shows hostile intent based on the broadcast. It will be a massacre, Kyungmin smiled. Even better. Let the protocols activate. Let the galaxy see what happens when they threaten us. You don't understand, Yuna said. The protocols don't distinguish between threats and reactions. If any species even discusses attacking humanity after seeing your broadcast, the AI will target them. It could destroy half the galaxy before anyone realizes what's happening. Daehyun felt his blood run cold. The automated systems had been designed to protect humanity at all costs. But they had been created during the Great Silence when humanity was desperate and ruthless. They would see any threat as justification for total war. How do we stop it? He asked. Destroy the broadcast equipment. Keep the information contained. The AI only activates if the information spreads beyond controlled channels. Kyungmin stood up, his hand moving toward a control panel. I won't let you stop this. Humanity needs to remember what we are. Junho drew his weapon. Step away from the controls. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Daehyun held up his hand. Wait, Kyungmin, you're right about one thing. The galaxy should know about the Vernathi. They should know what happened. But not like this. What do you mean? Kyungmin asked suspiciously. You want to dump all this information on the galaxy at once. That will cause panic, fear, war. But what if we release it slowly? Carefully? What if we create a way to tell the truth without triggering mass hysteria? Minji caught on. A memorial institution. We could establish a galactic memorial council. Its purpose would be to remember extinct species, study why they died, learn from their mistakes. And we could include the Vranathi, Daehyun continued, but we'd present it as a tragedy of war. Two civilizations that pushed each other to extremes. We'd tell the truth, but in a way that teaches lessons about the dangers of hatred and escalation. Kyungmin hesitated. And humanity's role? We'd be honest, Daehyun said. We'd admit that humanity committed terrible acts. But we'd also explain why. The context, the 100 years of slavery and torture. We'd show that we chose to change after the war. That we became diplomats because we never wanted to be those monsters again. It's not enough, Kyungmin said. The galaxy needs to fear us. No, Minji said firmly. The galaxy needs to understand us. Fear creates enemies. Understanding creates allies. If we show other species what pushed humanity to the edge, maybe they'll be more careful. Maybe they'll think twice before enslaving anyone. We can prevent future Vranathi empires without threatening everyone. Daehyun stepped closer to Kyungmin. You said you wanted humanity to be safe. This is how we do it. Not through fear, but through honest memory. We create the Memorial Council. We slowly release the information. We monitor reactions. And if anyone threatens us because of it, then the protocols are still there. But we give peace a chance first. Kyungmin looked at the broadcast equipment, at the data that would change everything, at the truth he wanted so desperately to share. Who would run this council? He asked. You, Daehyun said. You've done the research. You understand the history. You can tell the story better than anyone, but you tell it as a warning, not a threat. You show the galaxy what happens when civilizations push each other to extinction. You become a teacher instead of a warrior. Slowly, Kyungmin's hand moved away from the controls. A teacher, he said quietly. Someone who makes sure it never happens again. Yes. Kyungmin was silent for a long time. Then he nodded. All right. We do it your way. But I want complete access to the archives. No censorship. Just context. Agreed. 3 months later, the first Galactic Memorial Council meeting took place. Representatives from dozens of species attended. At the center of the hall stood a monument. Black stone, just like the ones in the Remembrance Vault. The inscription read, Here stood the Vranathi Empire. They believed mercy was weakness. They learned too late that those who show no mercy will receive none. May we all learn from what has been forgotten. An alien child asked their parent, Who were the Vranathi? A civilization that made terrible mistakes, the parent answered. They hurt others. They were hurt in return. Everyone lost. That's why we must always choose peace. The child nodded, satisfied with the answer. The parent didn't know the full truth. Nobody did except a few humans. And that was how it would stay for now. Daehyun stood in the back, watching. Beside him was Junho, now assigned to the Remembrance Vault. Minji was working with Kyungmin on the Memorial Council, carefully releasing information at a controlled pace. General Yuna's voice came through his private communicator. 3 species near human space are showing aggressive behavior. The protocols are monitoring. Let's hope they learn from the memorial. Daehyun thought about the Vranathi Empress's final words. They are patient. They are thorough. They are absolute. Humanity was still all those things. They had just learned to hide it better. The galaxy slept peacefully, never knowing that its kindest species was also its most dangerous, and maybe that was for the best. Minji couldn't sleep. They had left the Remembrance Vault 3 days ago, but the images from those halls haunted her dreams. 200 billion lives, 7 civilizations, all gone, all forgotten. She sat in her lab analyzing data from the Vranathi weapons that had been used in the colony attack. The technology was sophisticated, deadly. Someone had found these weapons and was selling them. Found something, she said when Daehyun entered. The weapon signatures match a black market dealer operating out of Station Redline. I cross-referenced the ship parts from the attack with known smuggling operations. There's one name that keeps appearing. Raylith. He's a Skrell arms dealer. Can we find him? Already did. He's scheduled to be at Station Redline in 2 days for a weapons auction. Station Redline was exactly what it sounded like. a lawless trading post on the edge of civilized space where criminals and smugglers did business. Daehyun's diplomatic credentials meant nothing here, but his money did. They posed as buyers interested in advanced weapons. Rayleigh was easy to spot. He was a large reptilian with green scales and too many teeth. He showed them his inventory with obvious pride. "I have weapons from dozens of extinct civilizations," he boasted. "Very rare. Very powerful. Very expensive." "We're interested in the Vranathi weapons," Daehyun said carefully. Rayleigh's eyes narrowed. "How do you know about those? That name isn't in any modern database when we have our sources. Can you supply them or not?" "I can, but they're special. Very special. The price is high." They agreed to meet later to discuss details. When Rayleigh arrived at the meeting, he found not buyers but a diplomatic team with authority to detain him. Junho's security team surrounded him before he could run. "You're under arrest for weapons trafficking," Daehyun said. Rayleigh laughed. "You have no authority here, human. This is neutral space. We're not arresting you under galactic law. We're detaining you for questioning about weapons that threaten human security." Big difference. Back on the ship, Rayleigh was less confident, especially when Minji showed him images from the colony attack. People burned by Vranathi weapons. Buildings destroyed. "I didn't know they would use them like that," Rayleigh protested. "I just sell weapons. What buyers do with them is not my problem." "Where did you get them?" Daehyun demanded. "From a human. He contacted me 6 months ago. Gave me coordinates to hidden armories scattered across the old Vranathi territory. Said I could take whatever I wanted and sell it. All he asked was that I keep records of who I sold to and where the weapons went." "A human? Did you get a name?" "He called himself Dr. Kyungmin Bai. Said he was a researcher studying extinct civilizations."
"He paid me well for the sales records." Minji searched the name in the galactic database.
"Dr. Kyungmin Bai, age 47, xenoanthropologist specializing in comparative civilizations. He has published several papers arguing that humanity's violent past should be embraced rather than hidden. He believes that modern humanity is too soft, too weak." "A fanatic," Junho said. "Maybe," Daehyun replied. "Or maybe someone who learned the truth and came to different conclusions than we did." They tracked Kyungmin to an abandoned research station in the Outer Vale. When they arrived, they found the station operational. Kyungmin was waiting for them. He was a thin man with intense eyes and a calm expression. He looked like a university professor, not a criminal. But the equipment surrounding him told a different story. Massive computer systems, communication arrays, broadcasting equipment powerful enough to reach every corner of the galaxy. "Captain Kim," he said pleasantly, "I was wondering when you would find me. You started this, you know. You found that archive station. You opened the door to the past. What are you doing here?" Daehyun asked. "Something that should have been done 1,500 years ago. I'm telling the truth. The whole truth." Kyungmin gestured to his screens. They showed files, videos, historical records, all about the 7 extinct civilizations and what humanity had done to them. "I've been restoring the deleted files," he explained, piece by piece. "I've rebuilt the history that humanity tried to erase. And in 48 hours, during the Galactic Assembly's Grand Council meeting, I'm going to broadcast it all. Every species in the galaxy will learn what humanity is truly capable of. You'll start a war," Minji said. "Other species will see humans as a threat. They'll try to eliminate us before we can eliminate them." "Good," Kyungmin replied. "Let them try. Let them learn what happens when you threaten humanity. We've become weak. We've forgotten who we are. We apologize for being strong. We hide our greatest achievement." "Achievement?" Yunyo shouted. "You call genocide an achievement?" "I call survival an achievement. The Vranathi tried to exterminate us. We exterminated them first. That's not evil. That's nature. That's strength. And I'm going to remind the galaxy that humanity is the apex predator, not because we're the biggest or the strongest, but because we're the most thorough. We don't just defeat our enemies. We erase them." Daehyun felt cold. "You found the Vranathi homeworld, didn't you? The bunker where their last leaders died." Kyungmin smiled. "I did. And I found their final archive. Complete records of the war, including footage of humanity's military operations. The cleaner fleets. The systematic extermination. The bioweapons, all of it. The galaxy needs to see what we did. They need to fear us. Only then will we be truly safe. Or they'll band together and destroy us," Minji argued. "Fear doesn't create safety. It creates enemies. Then let them come, Kyungmin said. We have the protocols. The Remembrance Vault is still operational. If the galaxy attacks us, we'll erase them just like we erased the Vranathi. And this time everyone will know why. Daehyun realized the full scope of the problem. If Kyungmin broadcast his evidence, it would expose humanity's capacity for total warfare. Some species would call for humanity's destruction. If they acted on that call, it would trigger the automated defensive protocols. The galaxy would learn about humanity's dark past at the exact moment those dark capabilities were activated. It would be a bloodbath. You have to stop this, he said. This isn't about being weak or strong. It's about not repeating the worst mistake in human history. The worst mistake was hiding it, Kyungmin replied. We should have been proud. We should have let the galaxy know that humanity is not to be trifled with. Instead, we cowered. We apologized. We pretended to be something we're not. We became better than we were, Daehyun said. We chose peace over violence. That's not weakness. That's growth, Kyungmin shook his head. You still don't understand. Peace is only possible because of the violence we're capable of. The galaxy respects us because they don't know what we did. But respect based on ignorance is not real respect. I'm going to give them knowledge and fear, and then finally humanity will be safe. You're wrong, Minji said quietly. You're going to get billions of people killed. Human and alien alike. Maybe, Kyungmin admitted. But at least they'll die knowing the truth. Isn't that what you wanted when you found that archive? The truth? Daehyun had no answer. He had wanted the truth. But now, facing the consequences of that truth being revealed, he wasn't sure anymore. Some truths were dangerous. Some truths could destroy everything. The broadcast would begin in 48 hours. Somehow they had to stop it. But how do you stop the truth? The Remembrance Vault looked like an ordinary asteroid from the outside. Just another large rock floating in space at the edge of human territory. But as the Harmony's edge approached, automated weapon systems came online. Targeting lasers locked onto the ship. Captain, we're being targeted, Hunyo shouted. Multiple weapon systems. They're charging to fire. Daehyun grabbed the communications panel. This is Captain Daehyun Kim of the diplomatic vessel Harmony's Edge. We have authorization codes from Ambassador Heejin Choi. Stand down. He transmitted the codes from the data chip. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the weapons powered down. A voice came through the speakers. It was old and tired. Approach vector approved. Dock at Base 7. Come alone, Captain. Your crew stays on the ship. Not happening, Daehyun replied. My crew comes with me, a pause. Very well. But know that you are all choosing to carry a burden that will change you forever. The docking bay was clean and well maintained. The entire facility hummed with power. This was no abandoned station. Someone lived here. They were met by a woman in an old military uniform. She looked about 60 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes. But there was something strange about her. She moved too smoothly. Too precisely, like a machine. I am General Yunahan, she said. I am the guardian of this facility. Follow me. As they walked through the corridors, Minji noticed something odd. General, how old is this facility? It was built in 2387, Yuna replied. Almost 1,500 years ago. And how long have you been stationed here? Yuna smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Since the beginning. I was 32 years old when they assigned me here. Now I am over 200 years old. Military augmentation keeps me alive. Someone must guard the truth. They entered a massive chamber. Inside were 7 enormous halls, each one leading off in a different direction. At the entrance to each hall stood a monument carved from black stone. Welcome to the Remembrance Vault, Yuna said. Each hall is dedicated to one of the civilizations that humanity erased from existence. This is not a place of pride. It is a place of remembrance. A reminder of what we are capable of when pushed beyond our breaking point. Daehyun walked to the nearest monument. The writing was in an alien language, but there was a translation underneath. Here stood the Vranathi Empire. Population 200 billion. Worlds 470. They enslaved humanity. They learned the cost of that mistake. He felt sick. 200 billion lives gone. You want to know what happened, Yuna said. It was not a question. Come, I will show you. She led them to the Vranathi Hall. Inside were displays showing images and videos. The story they told was horrible. In the year 2203, the Vranathi Empire discovered humanity. Humans had just begun colonizing nearby star systems. They were weak, technologically behind, perfect slaves. The Vranathi attacked without warning. They captured human colonies. They took millions of people. The Vranathi used humans for experiments, for labor, for entertainment. They treated humans like animals. Humanity tried to fight back, but they were no match for the Vranathi military. For over 100 years, the war went badly. Humanity was losing. Slowly but surely, they were being exterminated. Then something changed. In 2387, every human government united under a single military command. They called it the Total War Council, and they made a decision that would change humanity forever. We decided that if we were going to die, we would take them with us, Una said quietly. But we went further than that. We decided that no one would ever remember them. No one would ever know what they had done to us. They would simply cease to exist. The displays showed what happened next. Human fleets emerged from the Great Silence. They were different, equipped with new weapons, using new tactics. They were no longer trying to win battles. They were trying to erase an entire civilization. Every Vranathi world was attacked. Not just military targets, everything, cities, farms, hospitals, nothing was spared. The human fleets turned entire planets into glass. 200 billion Vranathi died in less than 20 years. We didn't stop there, Una continued. We hunted down every Vranathi survivor, every refugee, every scientist who had fled to neutral space. It took us 200 years, but we found them all. The last Vranathi died in 2605. Then we began the second phase of the plan. The historical erasure? Minji whispered. Yes. We infiltrated every major galactic database. We deleted every reference to the Vranathi Empire. We destroyed their monuments. We eliminated their language from translation databases. We made sure that no species would ever know they had existed. And we succeeded. Until you found that archive station. Junho looked like he was going to be sick. This is genocide. Mass murder. How could humanity do this? Because they pushed us to the edge of extinction, Una replied coldly. Because they gave us no choice. And because we decided that if we had to become monsters to survive, then we would be the most thorough monsters the galaxy had ever seen. Daehyun walked through the hall, looking at the displays. He saw images of human soldiers executing Vranathi children. He saw footage of planets burning. He saw the complete and total destruction of an entire civilization. The other 6 civilizations, he said. What did they do? They saw humanity fighting the Vranathi and decided to profit from our weakness. Some attacked our worlds while our fleets were occupied. Some sold weapons to the Vranathi. Some experimented on human prisoners. They all learned the same lesson. When you try to exterminate humanity, we will exterminate you first, completely. Absolutely. And we will make sure no one remembers you existed. Una brought them to a secure room. On the wall was a display showing an official document. This is the doctrine that is still in effect today. It is classified at the highest level. Only a handful of humans know it exists. Daehyun read it. The doctrine was simple and terrifying. Never again, never remembered. If humanity faces extinction, we will not only destroy the threat, we will erase it from history. No species will ever learn from the mistake of attacking us, because there will be no record that they ever made that mistake. This can't be legal, Minji said. The Galactic Assembly would never allow this. The Galactic Assembly doesn't know about it, Una replied. Why do you think humanity became so diplomatic after the Great Silence? We don't want to use these protocols again. They required us to do terrible things. Things that haunt us even 1,500 years later. So we became peacemakers. We became negotiators. Because we know what we're capable of and we never want to do it again. But if we're pushed, Daehyun said slowly, we'll do it anyway. Yes, and now you understand why someone is using Vranathi weapons. If word gets out about what humanity did, other species might decide we're too dangerous to exist. They might try to eliminate us preemptively, and that would activate the very protocols we're trying to avoid. Daehyun felt the weight of the knowledge crushing down on him. His species wasn't just capable of genocide. They were good at it. So good that they could make entire civilizations vanish from history. Who else knows about this? He asked. Very few. The president, top military commanders, senior ambassadors, and now you 3. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Captain Daehyun Kim stared at the dying star through the bridge window. His ship, the Harmony's Edge, had been exploring the Outer Veil sector for 3 months. They had found nothing but empty space and dead rocks. He was ready to go home. Captain, I'm picking up something strange, said Lieutenant Junho Lee from his station. The young officer's voice carried excitement. There's a structure in orbit around the star. It's big. Daehyun walked over to look at the scanner. A massive station floated in the darkness, silent and dark. No lights, no power signatures, just a dead hulk spinning slowly in space. How did we miss that on our initial scans? Daehyun asked. It's covered in some kind of stealth material, Junho replied. We only detected it because a solar flare stripped away part of the coating. Dr. Minji Park, the ship's xenoarchaeologist, appeared on the bridge. She had been sleeping when the alert went out. Her hair was messy, but her eyes were wide with curiosity. What did we find? A derelict station. Unknown design, Daehyun said. Want to take a look? Minji smiled. Are you seriously asking me that question? 2 hours later, they docked with the station. The airlock opened with a hiss of ancient hydraulics. Emergency lights flickered on as they entered, running on some backup power source that had lasted for who knew how long. The interior was huge. Corridors stretched in every direction, disappearing into darkness. The walls were covered in strange symbols that Minji had never seen before. She took photos of everything, her hands shaking with excitement. This is incredible, she whispered. The design doesn't match any known civilization in the galactic database. This could be a completely lost culture. Junho kept his weapon ready as they walked deeper into the station. Daehyun noticed that the young officer seemed nervous. Relax, he said. Whatever lived here has been gone for a very long time. They found the archive in the center of the station. It was a circular room with thousands of data storage units built into the walls. In the middle of the room stood a holographic projector, still functioning after all these years. Minji approached the projector carefully. She connected her portable scanner to the ancient technology. Lights began to glow. The holographic display activated, showing streams of alien text and images. It's a library, Minji said, her voice full of wonder. A library of dead civilizations. Look at this. Each section is dedicated to a different extinct species. There must be hundreds of them here. Daehyun watched as images of alien worlds and strange creatures flickered past. So many civilizations, all gone, all forgotten. It made him feel small and sad. Minji worked for hours, downloading as much data as she could. The archive was massive. It would take years to study everything. But as she dug deeper, she found something that made her blood run cold. Captain, she said quietly, you need to see this. Daehyun came over. On the screen was an image he recognized immediately. It was Earth, blue and green and beautiful, but something was wrong. The image was old, very old. This section is about humanity, Minji said, but according to the timestamp, this data is from 3,000 years ago. Look at what it says. The text scrolled across the screen. Minji's translation software worked slowly, converting the alien language into something they could understand. What they read made no sense. The file described humans as warriors, as hunters, as a species that showed no mercy to their enemies. It spoke of human military fleets that turned entire worlds into glass. It described something called the Great Silence, when humanity went dark and stopped communicating with the galaxy for 200 years. This can't be right, Junho said. We're diplomats. We're peacemakers. Everyone knows that. Daehyun said nothing. He just stared at the screen. Minji scrolled through more files. The data says this archive was created by something called the Vranathi Empire. I've never heard of them. They were apparently a major galactic power 3,000 years ago. A major power that nobody remembers, Daehyun asked. How is that possible? Minji shook her head. I don't know. It's like they were completely erased from history. She found another file. This one had a video recording. She played it. The hologram showed an alien creature. It looked like a combination of an insect and a reptile, with 4 arms and black eyes. It was wearing some kind of official uniform. When it spoke, the translation software converted its words. This is Supreme Commander Vreth of the Vranathi Empire. This is my final report. We made a terrible mistake. We thought the humans were weak. We enslaved their colonies. We took their people for experiments. We believed they would accept their place as our servants. We were wrong. The alien's voice shook with fear. The humans have changed. They stopped talking to us. They stopped asking for peace. They just started destroying. Every world we hold, they take. Every fleet we send, they destroy. They don't capture prisoners. They don't negotiate. They just erase everything. We are the 87th species to make the mistake of enslaving humans. We will be the last. Not because others will learn from our error, but because the humans will make sure no one remembers we ever existed. The recording ended. Silence filled the archive room. Play the next one, Dahyun said quietly. The next recording showed the same alien, but it looked worse. Thinner, more afraid. They are coming. We know they are coming. They have destroyed every Vernathi world except our home world. Our Empress has fled to a hidden bunker. I am the only commander left. This archive is our last hope. Maybe someday someone will find it. Maybe someone will remember that we existed. Maybe someone will warn others never to make our mistake. Never anger humanity. Never push them to the edge. Because if you do, they will not stop until you are forgotten by the entire galaxy. The hologram flickered and died. No more recordings. Minji stood frozen, staring at the empty space where the hologram had been. What did we do? She whispered. What did humanity do? Dahyun felt sick. He had served as a diplomatic captain for 20 years. He had always been proud of humanity's reputation as peacemakers. Now he was learning that maybe that reputation was built on the graves of 7 extinct civilizations that humanity had apparently erased from history itself. We need to report this to the Galactic Assembly, he said finally. Junho looked worried. Are you sure that's a good idea, Captain? If this is true, if humanity really did this, it could change everything. Other species might see us as a threat. If this is true, Dahyun said, then they should see us as a threat, because right now I'm afraid of what we might be capable of. They left the archive and returned to their ship. Behind them, the ancient station continued its slow spin around the dying star, keeping its terrible secrets in the darkness. But those secrets were no longer safe. The truth was coming out, and Dahyun had no idea what that truth would cost. The Galactic Assembly chamber was full of noise. Representatives from 200 different species argued and debated as they always did. Ambassador Hyejin Choi sat in the human section, trying to look calm. Inside, she was worried. Dahyun stood at the speaker's platform in the center of the chamber. He had requested this emergency session. Now he had to explain what they had found. We discovered an ancient archive station in the Outer Veil sector, he began. Inside, we found records of extinct civilizations. One of those civilizations called themselves the Vernathi Empire. According to their records, they were destroyed by humanity 3,000 years ago. Silence fell across the chamber. Then the noise started again, louder than before. A tall reptilian delegate stood up. This is ridiculous. There is no record of any Vernathi Empire in our historical databases. Your so-called discovery is obviously corrupted data or a fabrication. The evidence is real, Dahyun insisted. We have video recordings. We have detailed files. This civilization existed, and somehow all record of them has been removed from galactic history. And you claim humanity did this? Another delegate asked. Humanity? The species that has not fought a war in over 500 years? The species known throughout the galaxy for their diplomatic solutions? Impossible. The session ended badly. Most delegates dismissed the findings. Some laughed. A few looked worried, but they said nothing. After the session, Hyejin pulled Dahyun aside. Come with me, she said quietly. She led him to a private room, one of the secure chambers used for classified discussions. Once the door was sealed, she turned to face him. Her expression was serious. You need to stop digging into this, she said. What? Why? Because some truths are buried for good reasons, Dahyun. You think you've discovered something important, but you don't understand what you're playing with. So it's true? Dahyun felt his stomach twist. Humanity really did destroy the Vernathi? Hyejin looked away. I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is that there are things about humanity's history that must remain hidden, not because we're ashamed, but because revealing them would be dangerous. For everyone. I'm a captain in Earth's fleet, Dahyun said angrily. I deserve to know the truth about my own species. Hyejin was silent for a long moment. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data chip. If you really want to know, go to these coordinates. There's a facility there called the Remembrance Vault. But I'm warning you, once you learn the truth, you can't unlearn it. Your life will be different. You'll carry a burden that very few humans are allowed to know about. She pressed the chip into his hand. And Dahyun? Be careful. There are people who will do anything to keep these secrets buried, anything. Back on his ship, Dahyun called a meeting with Minji and Junho. He showed them the data chip. The ambassador gave me coordinates, he explained. A place called the Remembrance Vault. She basically admitted that the Vernathi were real and that humanity has been hiding what happened to them. So what do we do? Hunyo asked. We go there, Minji said immediately. We need to know the truth. Before they could set course, an emergency signal came through. A remote human colony was under attack. The distress call included video footage. Daehyun watched the footage with growing horror. The attacking ships were using weapons he had never seen before. Energy weapons that tore through shields like paper. The weapon signatures matched nothing in the current galactic database. Minji analyzed the footage carefully. Her face went pale. Those are Vernathi weapons, she said. I recognize the design from the archive. Someone has found Vernathi technology and they're using it. But the Vernathi have been dead for 3,000 years, Junho protested. How is that possible? Someone must have found their weapons caches, Daehyun said. Someone is digging up the past just like we are, but they're not interested in history. They want those weapons. While they traveled to help the colony, Minji continued studying the data from the archive. She made more disturbing discoveries. Daehyun, the Vernathi weren't alone, she said during a late-night meeting. I found references to 6 other major civilizations that vanished during the same 200-year period. All of them disappeared during humanity's Great Silence. 7 civilizations. Daehyun said slowly. All gone. All forgotten. And there's something else, Minji continued. I did some research into Earth's history during that period. There's almost nothing. Official records say there was a massive data corruption event in 2387. Every military database was wiped clean. The government was completely restructured. When humanity emerged from the Great Silence, they were different. They became the peaceful diplomatic species we know today. Junho looked sick. You're saying that old humanity destroyed 7 civilizations, erased all evidence of their existence, and then changed themselves to hide what they had done? I'm saying that's what the evidence suggests, Minji replied. Meanwhile, Daehyun received a private message. It was from an old friend, a historian named Taewon Shin. Taewon was an expert on Earth's lost centuries, the period between 2200 and 2500 where human records were mysteriously incomplete. I heard about your discovery, Taewon's message said. I've been researching the lost centuries for 30 years. I always suspected that something terrible happened during that time, something that humanity wanted to forget. I have information that might help you. Meet me at Station Kepler when you can. They arrived at the attacked colony to find the situation under control. Local defense forces had driven off the attackers, but several buildings were destroyed. 15 colonists were dead. Daehyun inspected the weapon damage personally. The burn patterns were unlike anything modern weapons could produce. Whatever the Vernathi had created, it was powerful. Sir, we found something, Junho called. He was standing near a crashed attacking ship. The pilot was dead, but they had recovered the ship's navigation computer. Minji examined the data. The ship came from a black market station in the Red Line sector. Whoever sold them these weapons is operating out of there. Daehyun made a decision. We'll investigate the black market angle. But first, we're going to the Remembrance Vault. I need to understand what we're dealing with before we go any further. As they set course, Daehyun stood alone on the bridge, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there was the truth about humanity's past, a past so terrible that it had been buried for 3,000 years. He thought about Heejin's warning. Once he learned the truth, he couldn't unlearn it. His life would be different. I'm already different, he said quietly to the empty bridge. I already know that my species is capable of erasing 7 civilizations from history. How much worse can the truth be? He would soon find out, and he would discover that the truth was far, far worse than he could have imagined.